I would love to introduce John Watton. John Watton is Marketing Director at Adobes Marketing Cloud products and solutions. So this is their digital marketing offering. And we're delighted to have John here. He's got 20 plus years of experience in technology and SaaS and e-commerce marketing from a number of different organizations. And he was also named Top Rank's top influencer in online marketing last year. So on that note, welcome, John.
Thanks, Hannah. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Hannah. As Hannah mentioned, I look after marketing for our digital marketing business. And actually, just coming back to one of the topics Anthony was talking about there, when I started Adobe, my father, who is a retired professor of engineering, never knows what I do, is a little bit scornful of marketing, to be fair, because he's an academic. And so anything outside of that tends to be a little less worthy. Doesn't really know much about many of the brands I work for in technology. But when I told him I joined Adobe, he said, "You know the first thing I'm going to ask you, don't you?" I said, "No, you're probably going to ask me, who are they, what do they do?" He said, "No, I want a free copy of Photoshop." So we are a brand with, to some extent, a consumer image. We have a very passionate following in the creative industry. And it's quite interesting, that discussion there, because some of the challenges I have, I'm on the B2B side, are really about how we harness that into our B2B technology. And we have all the similar challenges that you have in reaching our audiences and building that emotional connection. So what I'm going to talk about today really is really about our own experiences. It's not about Adobe's technology, as much as I'd love to. So really how we think about marketing and some of the transformations we've gone through in our marketing function over the last few years. And really, it's this balancing of the kind of analytical and creative, and how we've tried to harness, I guess, a lot of our creative power that we have from our heritage in creative technologies, and also use a lot of the data that we need to really drive that forward in terms of proving ROI. The first thing to say is we're quite no surprise maybe for no, I'll take that back. Not a surprise. Could be a surprise really for a technology business. We spend a lot of our marketing budget on digital spend, about 74%, very accurate figure. Even in software, right? I mean, we know a lot of our B2B marketing tends to be fairly traditional, and typically B2B technology brands, and many that I've worked in, are spending around sort of 10, 20, 30% on digital technology. We've gone through quite a commitment from a corporate perspective to really, put our money where our mouth is and use digital marketing technology in a B2B sense as the way in which we, acquire, retain, and build relationships with customers and partners. And we're probably an outlier from that point of view. But it hasn't been easy, and it's had a lot of challenges. And I guess to some extent, I just wanted to take you through some of those challenges and some of those approaches. I think the really interesting thing for me is, as our audiences shift to a digital engagement, and as we spend more money and have more relationships driven by digital, it's just driven a phenomenal amount of data to drive these sorts of insights that we can make as B2B marketers. I was just talking to Anthony beforehand, I think, or someone, and I always say there were four. I forget who I talked to. I'm getting old. I remember when we had four things in our toolbox as B2B marketers. We could either send a direct mail, we could host an event, we could telemarket someone, and we could do a bit of PR in the press. And that was about it. And if you lived in a glamour brand like HP or IBM, you could do some advertising as well. And that was all you could do. Obviously today we have so much insight in terms of the behaviors of our customers, what they're looking at, what they're viewing, what they're downloading, what they're opening, and so on. I just think it's phenomenally exciting to be a B2B marketer. It's almost the golden age of B2B marketing, I think, because we're finally now getting that ability to laser focus our marketing and also put some numbers on the table. I mean, how long has that taken for us as B2B marketers to put some numbers on the table to have robust conversations with our commercial partners within the business? For us, we've seen some major changes in terms of what shifting to digital has meant for us as a business. And when people ask, well, what's the difference? Sure, you're just not spending on events more, you're sending more email, or you're building a better web presence, or you're investing in social. It's a fundamental cultural change that we've had to make as a business in the sort of three key areas, almost the 3 Ps, but it's a 2 Ps and a T. We've had to make some significant changes, not just buy digital technology and invest in technology. There's just been massive changes to how we're doing our processes. And going back to that sort of old world of B2B marketing, while sending out a DM, you spend all your time doing your creative work. You would buy your lists, send out your DM on a Monday, and then you kind of wait and find out the agency, have we got responses yet? No. And they say, well, give us a month or so, and then you'd find out how successful it wasn't the event. That's a different process, right, to our continual innovation, our continual iteration of our marketing, the continued experience and relationship that our customers now expect on a 24/7 basis. So we've shifted from a kind of campaign-based approach to much more of an iterative, agile approach, which you saw pioneered in product development, right? If you're in a software company, most of your software developers are working an agile methodology where you no longer have big point releases. You have continued iterations, probably to a cloud-based service. And similarly, we have continued iterations to our marketing-based service as we're testing and learning on a daily basis in terms of the digital campaigns we're running. I think most importantly, the skills in the team. It requires a different sort of individual. I always say it requires 3 things. It requires people who are comfortable with change. That's always been a cliche in software technology. But when you're on a daily change basis, that's quite intensive in terms of change. You need a curiosity. I think all the marketers that we try to bring into our business, they have to have the ability to want to learn new things, try out new things, and not just see marketing as a job because it's so intensive. The landscape of social and digital technology is so broad. You're looking for that small, point difference in response rates, in terms of engagement, that make you stand out with your competitors. And thirdly, willing to take a risk. You're not going to get anywhere by just, what was the pain of same? That's the first time I heard. I love that, pain of same. It's exactly the same thing. We need to take a risk in our marketing. We need to be trying things out and evolving and iterating and learning. And so, for us, this shift to digital has been impacted across all these different areas. And I thought I'd illustrate that briefly by what that's meant in terms of our 3 of our core functions: display, search, and site, and then people, technology, and KPIs. About 3 years ago, when it came to sort of display advertising, I think we had 1 person. This is globally for Adobe. So we're quite a traditional kind of B2B business. We outsourced everything to agencies around the world, and we had quite some simple sort of top-of-funnel metrics. Search, it wasn't much more than a handful, one person, 2 people, 8 agencies worldwide, again, outsourced. And you may be surprised at our site, adobe.com, because at that time we weren't really transacting a large amount of our business, had a handful of people look after it in the IT department using some of our tools at the time, and just looking at simple revenue per visits. And that transformation I described, kind of moving from what we kind of call portfolio marketing to what we internally call marketing by numbers, putting this kind of digital numbers-based approach, took about 18 months. And so now we have on display 5 people, no agencies. We brought it all in-house. We're lucky to have a range of technology ourselves to do that. On search, we've beefed out our search capability, 26 people across the various types of search operations. And finally, on the site, we now have a central team of 10 on our site. We're not an e-commerce business, so still have a lot of our B2B business is transacted through sales or partners, but we've beefed up our site capability. And what's not on here, but it's always the interesting one that's kind of come in, obviously, the last few years, is social. I think we went from a handful of people maybe 3 years ago to our social team now is about 25, 30 people. That's required a lot of reskilling to do that. This is not net new hires necessarily in the business. We haven't gone out and increased our marketing department. We have all the same challenges you do in terms of budgets, restrictions, and constraints. We've had to repurpose people. We've had to retrain people, as well as bring in new talent. And that's a very painful thing to do. But the benefit for us is as I say, has allowed us to really track, prove, and measure the ROI on our marketing. And there's a lot of focus in this industry around bringing in data scientists. The rise of the sort of marketing geek. We need more science graduates in marketing and so on. And I think that's great. And I think, as we're saying, in kind of recession period, we all started to swing that way and get very numbers oriented. And the numbers are only so much in terms of that marketing mix. It's great to see Anthony's presentation, because we feel very strongly that marketing is also about creativity. It's about that emotion, for all the reasons that were very well outlined in the previous presentation. We absolutely believe that that data gives the insights to reach the right audiences in the right way at the right time. But a lot of the principles of marketing haven't changed. We need to tell a compelling story that's relevant, that's engaging, that builds a connection, and that helps in the experience that we have with our customers. And we certainly don't believe that in the age of post Mad Men that we're necessarily going to replace all those creative brains with an ad exchange. But we certainly feel it's a balance of the two. So it's this left brain, right brain balance that we look at in terms of how we do our marketing. We're very numbers oriented. Believe you me, the reviews we have internally are very numbers oriented. But we try and recognize that creativity and emotion count for a lot in the marketing that we do. And I think great marketing actually is taking these numbers, but also it's all about confidence. And there's a number of ways in which you convey confidence. I think just in the way that when you build relationships with someone, you have a reason to have that relationship in terms of the value you have in the business or in personal life. And I think that's also exhibited in the way in which individuals have relationship with brands. And I think confidence can be many things. That dreaded phrase, thought leadership, is often what we think of in B2B marketing, right? We show that we know our stuff by producing very worthy, long exposés and white papers, and that's really going to be the compelling thing that will pull people over the line. Well, that has a role in certain parts maybe of the sales process, but there are other ways in which you can show your confidence. You can show your confidence by not talking about us. So that's, we show our confidence by not talking about us in terms of, us as a vendor and how great we are, how innovative we are. I think confidence, is exhibited by showing that you understand the issues and challenges of the person you're talking to. Confidence can also be exhibited by being human, by using a human tone of voice, by showing that you are people and that you're good people to do business with. Confidence can be exhibited by picking a hot issue. So don't steer away from something which may be hot in the market. Pitch in there, have an opinion. Have a strong opinion. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a strong opinion. Don't be the kind of middle of the road. Often that can be a way in which you show confidence. And if you're a brand that can do this, you can be controversial. There are lots of brands who are controversial in the way which they do things. Don't try and kind of show bias towards your products. We try and what we do, try and be fairly independent, represent the industry, represent some of the challenges. And that shows a lot of confidence, because you're not sort of nervously having to go back and say, but we're really great, and what about our great products? And to some extent, as I mentioned, take a risk. And in case you're wondering, this is my 10-year-old son taking a risk in a water park in Dubai. This is 9 stories up. You go down 9 stories in 1 second. It was less of a risk for him. It was more of a risk for me. So I took more persuading than he did. He wanted to do it 4 times. I just did it once. And there was another one that was higher that I refused to do and he wanted to do. So he went ahead and did it. But anyway, taking a risk, I think, is all about doing something different, making us stand out. And I think also confidence is shown by having some fun. I think brands that relax, have a bit of humor, show confidence, because again, they don't feel like they need to sort of resort back to shouting about their technology and how great they are. And that's because, at Adobe, we use all that data to drive relationships. We feel it's very much about building those relationships by creating, human experiences and kind of showing that, through a lot of those qualities that we talk about, that we're a brand that people want to do business with. And one of the things I just wanted to show you is how then we do that in terms of the media that we use. So we have demonstrated some of those capabilities in some of the brand campaigns we've done in the last couple of years. So some of you may be familiar with the BS detector and a few other things like that. Over the last few years, we've done a number of kind of humorous plays on some of the challenges in marketing. And coming back to the way in which we share those pieces of content, we use a lot of video content. And we definitely moved down the kind of shareable bite-sized content, and then obviously engages with our customers and our prospective customers to drive them through some kind of funnel, that we then nurture them through the buying cycle. But this is one example I wanted to show, which is what we call Click Baby Click, and it's just a humorous way in which we show how we address some of the challenges our customers face. Shall we roll the video?
Peter, come take a look at this.
Mr. Daniels.
Mr. Daniels.
Look at this.
What's this? The numbers, they keep getting bigger and bigger.
The clicks are off the charts.
Yeah.
Yoshi, it's Walter. We're back.
Yes, sir.
I need more trees. More trees? I'll get you more trees.
Hey, take a look at Woodpole.
Whoa. Everything you got on Woodpole right now.
He really loves that thing.
So as you can see, that's quite a humorous way in which we play to one of the themes that we talk to, which is, do you really know what your marketing is doing? So obviously with the sort of tools and technology that we have, we're all about putting some numbers on the board for the customers that we work with. And that video content was really successful for us. We have over 3 million views, 2.5 million minutes watched, 3,000 shares, and the metrics you have here, we hosted on a YouTube channel with a bunch of other content. We use it then in terms of our paid activity. So we do things like LinkedIn takeovers, and we use it in some of our paid search activity as well. It's really helped us in terms of build out our own awareness and presence in a way which is, not this kind of worthy, stodgy, B2B, how great are our products type marketing. We also use it through some of our paid activity in the TrueView. For a fairly modest engaged investment, we get a lot of great return in terms of views we have for that. So more than 11 engaged views for every dollar spent. So we're seeing, video content used in social situations, using a very emotional style theme as very successful for us. And we're lucky enough then to have some smart guys in white coats back in the office who then do all the attribution modeling for us in terms of how this impacts the business that we generate in marketing. And using this content in paid search, it has the highest impact in terms of all the channels that we have. And that was quite a surprise for us. So we continue to invest in this sort of approach. So it works for us, but it hasn't been easy. And again, we've been working to this over a couple of years in terms of the content that we've had within Adobe. So we absolutely see, I see the B2B marketer as this blend of kind of art and science. This new breed of marketing we're seeing, using data to drive our decisions, and then blending that with truly understanding your customer and building that emotional connection. I would say to round off, our own experience is that not taking a risk in some extent is a risk. One of the great things, for example, that we can see is we kind of de-risk now some of the things that we do because we've built up quite a solid database. We're able to do some modeling on our channel activity to look at our media mix. So we also can see where the law of diminishing returns comes in. So it's not just about spending more on paid. It's where you pull out where you don't get the ROI. And so we're lucky enough to to understand that so we can do forward planning and so on. So, once you get the data in place, you're kind of in this iterative process where you continue to de-risk because you're building up your past performance and understanding. So the next time you make a decision, it's going to be less risky to some extent. And to do this, we haven't been able to do any of this without transforming our organization. It hasn't been about spending money differently. It hasn't been about buying more technology and doing more stuff digitally. It's really been about a digital transformation that we've had to go through. But we certainly see a lot of value and a lot of benefit, and would recommend anyone to dip their toe in the water and have a go. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Again, if we've got some questions, maybe one question from the floor, we've got time for that just before the break. We will have a break right after this, I promise. Any questions? No? I guess one very quick question for me then is that what was your biggest challenge in that transformation that you went through?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be bringing your people along. So, that's not easy. I mean, that has been the hardest challenge because I say that the kind of friction to a lot of this marketing transformation of the past was kind of cost and access to technology. That's kind of going away now. So it's more about making sure you have the right skills in your business and bring your people along. And to do that, the people in the business need to understand why you're doing it and where you're going. And the sort of opportunity they have, within that are not necessarily as a threat. So it's always good people management, I think, that makes or break these sorts of things.
Great, perfect. On that note, thank you very much.